Sahana Vavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. And we will share the screen. There it is. Here, March 17th in Asia. Okay, our first topic. God and Love, the Hindu View. April 2024, Publishers Desk, something new. Got a new one here. Path from loving separation from God to unity of experience of oneself with God is well mapped in Indian theology. In Western television shows, references to God are rare. However, when the divine is mentioned, the prevailing sentiment often revolves around the assertion that God loves you. Maybe you've seen that in certain Western shows. This mirrors contemporary perspectives on the divine. Indeed, amid life's challenges, it is reassuring to be reminded of the comforting principle that God cares for you. In Hindu philosophy, the idea that God loves you is present, but enriched by profound subtlety. There is a strong emphasis on you love God, and God is love. Oh, the question for you, how would you describe the difference between the two approaches to God and love, between Western approach and the Hindu approach? This slightly different focus, meaning the Hindu one, provokes the devotee's sincere effort to cultivate and intensify love of the divine. So that's an important difference. In other words, God loves you, okay, that's great, but you're not doing anything. It's okay, God loves me. Makes you feel better, which is good. But you love God, Hindu approach. We just don't leave it at the starting point. We're trying to cultivate and intensify love of the divine. Increase our love or deepen our love for the divine. And that's what lots of Hindu practices do. They deepen our love for the divine or bring us closer to the divine, all different ways of saying the same thing, but very different than just the Western point of view. Before looking in more detail into deepening one's love of God, let's look first at a second Hindu concept, that of faith. In our modern world, an increasing number of individuals state that they don't believe in God and see no need to affiliate with a religion. A popular poster on the web expresses this sentiment, depicting a teenage girl boldly declaring, "I'm getting a bit old for imaginary friends." Western thought often, though not always, defines religious faith as an unquestioning belief in God and religious tenets, a perspective aligned with Webster's dictionary. How is the Hindu concept of faith different? In contrast, the Hindu expression of faith transcends doctrinal allegiance. In Hinduism, faith is not a consensus of belief, nor is it a static condition. Rather, it undergoes constant deepening through personal experience and spiritual growth. The spiritual truths of Sanatana Dharma, initially embraced without tangible proof, find ultimate validation through individual experiences. So that's a two-step process. First, we accept something. If you go within you, you can find the light of the soul, Atma Jyoti. Okay? And then eventually we actually experience it. Swami Chinmayananda, founder of Chinmaya Mission, succinctly encapsulated this notion, stating, "Faith is to believe what you do not see. The reward of faith is to see what you believed." So experience, you end up seeing what you accepted without believing. That is the ultimate idea of faith in Hinduism. Back to love. The Hindu goal of intensifying one's love of God finds lucid expression in the tradition of Bhakti Yoga, which portrays the evolving stages of love for God through differing relationships. So I did something different, since this is a publisher's desk and is addressing all Hindus of all different faiths. I took the Vaishnava approach. So why is he talking about Vaishnavism? Because it's a publisher's desk and you don't want to say Saivite, 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 Saivite every time. Some people will stop reading it. These stages are found in many traditions with varying These stages are found in many traditions, stages of bhakti, while varying somewhat. For example, the Vaishnava tradition recognizes 5 primary devotional attitudes, which are called bhavas. Peacefulness, shanta bhava. The soul experiences contentment in the presence of God. It's a very nice one to be first. Servitude, dasya bhava. The soul engages with God in the role of a servant to master. That sounds like Saivism. Friendship, sakha bhava. The soul establishes a relationship with God as a friend. Saivism has that. Parental affection, vatsalya bhava. The soul relates to God with the affection of a parent to a child. So, Siddhanta doesn't have that one, but you see it in the, what would you say? See it in the paintings of the deities. You'll see the Bala Murugan, Bala Ganesha. So that's this idea of parental affection. Soul relates to God with the affection of a parent to a child. So it's there in the paintings, but it's not in Siddhanta philosophy. Beloved, madhurya bhava. The soul experiences a deep connection with God, perceiving the divine as one's dearest beloved. Okay, and that last line on the slide is wrong there. The pivotal inquiry revolves around how to enhance one's devotion to God, gradually transitioning from shanta bhava to madhura bhava. How do we do that? 4 primary stages or methods are the yogas of bhakti, karma, raja, and jnana. So this is a pub desk, so it's hitting all the basics. Let's delve into each, keeping in mind their relevance to the desired bhava progression. When seeking to deepen one's love of God, it is natural to think of bhakti yoga first. It encompasses numerous devotional practices and is typically, but not exclusively, performed at a temple. Temple is an especially sacred place where the deity comes and hovers over and within the murti in his subtle body. Swami Bhaskarananda comments on this idea. The murti is not an idol, but a consecrated image of God's chosen aspect. The worshipper believes that God is actually present in the image, and thus the image becomes a way of communicating with the Supreme. So I asked ChatGPT to find some quotes, and this is one that found that we would never find without its help. Very nice one. Same idea as Gurudevas and the Agamas. Bhakti yoga practices include Shravana, listening to the stories of God, Kirtana, singing devotional hymns and songs, Smarana, remembering the presence and name of the divine, Padasevana, service to the holy feet, which includes serving humanity, Archana, attending ritual worship both in the temple as well as attending or conducting worship in one's home shrine, Vandana, prostrating to the deity, Atma Nivedana, complete self-surrender. Thought that was a good painting there of self-surrender. Took me a while to find one. Through Bhakti Yoga, we develop love for God as well as selflessness and purity, leading to self-effacement and total surrender to God. So that's a summary of Bhakti Yoga. Karma Yoga or Seva is a path of selfless service. Seva generally is first performed at a temple where the devotee does simple tasks such as cleaning the floors, polishing the lamps, making garlands, cooking and serving food to other devotees. All such actions are to be done without thought of recognition or reward. So that's a very important part of Karma Yoga, is we're not working for recognition, or we're not working for some type of reward, financial or otherwise. We're just doing it because it's the right thing to do. And this is an important one that's not always stressed. Seva can be extended to other situations such as work or school where we strive to be helpful to others. Go beyond what the situation formally requires of us. This can be perceived of as worshiping God by serving all beings as His living manifestations. Pramukh Swami Maharaj of BAP has counseled his followers in the aftermath of the 2001 Gujarat earthquake. When people are facing difficulties and sorrows, our Indian tradition is to offer them solace. We feel that by serving the human beings, we serve the Lord Himself. Nicely said. In a still deeper approach, great teachers ask us to perform all work, keyword all work with the aim of reaching God. Performing our work with the aim of reaching God naturally leads to the perspective that each task is an offering to the Lord. Every act, from the grandest to the lowest, becomes a sacred rite. Okay, slide doesn't want to move there. Here we go. Work is worship. Even simple menial tasks should be done in the spirit. Paramaguru Yogaswami once spoke to a laborer who was cleaning the lavatory outside his hut. "Oh, Ramaswamy, are you doing Shiva Puja out there?" That is bringing it down to earth. Thank you, Yogaswami. Even washing the dishes is Shiva Puja. In both Bhakti Yoga and Karma Yoga, the devotee is focused on the personal aspect of God, known as Ishvara in Sanskrit. In contrast, the next two yogas, Raja and Jnana, emphasize the impersonal aspects of God, which are omnipresent consciousness and its transcendent source. Sanskrit, these aspects are referred to as Satchit Ananda and Parabrahman, respectively. Practices of Bhakti and Karma Yoga, when perfected, naturally lead the seeker into Hinduism's meditative practices. These start with the Raja Yoga steps of, which we all know. These are the English. Breath control, energy withdrawal, concentration that deepens into meditation, and contemplation. Deepest experience of contemplation is being one with pure consciousness or Satchidananda. Deeper still is the experience of transcendent reality, Parabrahman. Jnana Yoga describes the esoteric spiritual practices of the fully enlightened being, or Jnani. An alternative meaning popularized by Swami Vivekananda is the quest for cognition through intellectual religious study. It's one of four alternative paths to truth. These meditative approaches are striving for a form of God's love that is not found in the karma and bhakti yoga approaches. It's focused on God's omnipresent consciousness of love. No, it's not found in Vaishnavism either. Vaishnavism sticks to Ishvara. Doesn't go into the meditative approaches to omnipresent consciousness of love. In experiencing that state, God is love. And you are also God's love. So we're getting beyond dualism here. Paramaguru Yoga Swami taught this concept that God, Shiva, you, and love are an inseparable unity in a letter to a young man named Yogendra Durai Swami. I am with you, and you are with me. There is no distance between us. I am you. You are I. What is there to fear? Look, I exist as you. Then what must you do? You must love. Whom? Everyone. To speak more clearly, your very nature is love. Not only you, but all are pervaded by love. But there is no all, for you alone exist. All are you. So Yoga Swami is saying you and Yoga Swami and love and Shiva are all one. In the fifth bhava, belovedness, God is your dearly beloved. Mystically, it is also has the deeper meaning that there is a oneness between you and God, an inseparable unity of the essence of your soul and God's omnipresent. Omnipresence, the transcendent source which can be experienced through Raja or Jnana Yoga. In the highest attainment, God and love are one, as our slide is portraying. So that's a nice highlighting of the difference in the publisher desk style, which is not strictly Saivite. No, there's a big difference between Western approach, God loves you, the Hindu approach, you love God, but deepen that love. In fact, all the practices of Bhakti, Karma, Raja, Jnana Yoga are designed to deepen that love till you become that love. And there's no difference between you, God, and love. Second topic, see what we have here. Cultivating 9 key spiritual qualities in children. And today, we're looking at the 9th quality. Congratulations, we've got through all 9. Prejudice-free consciousness. Prejudice-free consciousness manifests when we see God in everyone and fully embrace differences of ethnic background and religion. Are we born with prejudices? Absolutely not. Where then do they come from? They are all learned at home, at school, and elsewhere. So we learn them. We're not born with them. How is prejudice-free consciousness developed? How would you answer that question? It is through teaching our children that the whole world is our family and all human beings are divine beings. So that's a nice Sanskrit statement. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, the world is one family. It is through complete avoidance of remarks that are racially or religiously prejudiced. It is through discussing with our children any prejudice they hear at school or elsewhere and correcting it. It is by teaching children to avoid generalizations about people and instead to think about specific individuals and the qualities they have. So even positive generalizations are to be avoided because you don't see the individual in any ethnic or religious group. Everybody's not the same, and you want to see people as individuals within their group. Television and movies can provide useful situations to discuss. Acceptance of others is nurtured by having children meet, interact, and learn to feel comfortable with children of other ethnicities and religions. So this may be taken for granted in some countries because interaction is how everything works. School is interaction, other situations, social situations, there's interaction. But in some countries, it's set up quite differently and things are separate. So in school, there's no interaction except there's separate schools. So you never interact, so you always have a false concept about other ethnicities or religions because you've never really met them. Tolerant individuals can help communities function with less friction and misunderstanding. Gurudeva teaches us every belief creates certain attitudes. Our attitudes govern all of our actions. Belief in karma, reincarnation, and the existence of an all-pervasive divinity throughout the universe creates an attitude of reverence, benevolence, and compassion for all beings. A natural consequence of this belief is ahimsa, non-hurtfulness. And a third topic, see what we have, a question, satsang@hindu.org. What is the idea of comparing superconscious insights to quiet music playing in the background? So this is something I do now and then, make that statement. The idea has two aspects to it. The first is that superconscious insights are already happening. It's like quiet music in the background, it's playing. Second is we need to quiet the foreground mental activity of our thoughts and emotions to become aware of those insights. So it's there, but the foreground activity of thoughts and emotions is so loud that we can't perceive it. So therefore, yogas chitta, yoga chitta vritti nirodha. There we go. We need to restrain the mental activity. Patanjali. Fourth topic. Quote from Yoga Swami, Words of our Master. Today we have two related quotes. First is, joy and sorrow only exist in the mind. Second is, simply laugh if any disaster comes to you. Grief and happiness concern the body. So what do these two quotes mean to you? There's the first quote, joy and sorrow only exist in the mind. It is pointing out that there is a part of us that is not the mind, that does not experience joy and sorrow. That, of course, is the soul and the part we need to strongly identify with. The second quote, simply laugh if any disaster comes to you. Grief and happiness concern the body, is taking the idea one step further in terms of how to face a disaster. We can be strong and face it by identifying with our soul nature and not get caught up in the grief and happiness that others are experiencing. So we want to express compassion, but we don't want any natural disaster, for example, to overwhelm us with grief and happiness. We want to stay centered and effective in responding to it. Oh, thank you very much. Oh.